Joining me now is author and political commentator Shemeka Michelle.
Shemeka Michelle.
Shemeka Michelle.
Shemeka Michelle.
When God looked at man, he said it's not good for man to be alone. He gave him a woman. He didn't give him a village. He didn't give him the community. He said, be fruitful and multiply to this man and this woman. So it's supposed to be God, husband, wife.
If you always do what you've always done, you will always get what you've always done. Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the Dee Worley show. I'm just kidding.
You're hilarious.
But it's kind of like that because you do, you can be a little chatty just like I can. But
well, it's a problem.
Yeah, I appreciate you joining me today for Colorism, the real anti-Black. We will get to that. And you said you all called it what? Where you were
being
from?
color struck. So when I was growing up, we always said it. Somebody was color struck.
Yes,
but that may be an Alabama-ism.
No, sure. I think I've heard that too. So we have that as well. So we're going to get to that in a second, folks. But just to kind of start us off, we're going to talk about some hot topics. And this is Feedback Friday as well. So hop in the comments. We may read your comment and bring it into the discussion. The Diddy trial. What do you think? I'm seeing some people say it's not enough evidence. He's going to get off. I saw someone say they only need to prove 2 of the things that they're charging him for it to be a RICO case, and it's a landslide. I've heard people say that the feds do not bring charges unless they absolutely know they're going to win. So what are your thoughts on what's going on with the diddler?
Yeah. So I kind of vacillate back and forth. And it depends. I think it kind of depends on the day, right? Depending on what's going on in the trial. I mean, during the Cassie testimony days, it was pretty damning. And it seemed like there was, she pretty much laid a solid foundation for, kind of like the Stockholm syndrome thing, where you kind of sympathize with your abuser or you sympathize with your captor. And then you can get kind of brainwashed in that process and not really be able to, it's almost like a hypnotism. You get kind of just trapped in the cycle of it all. Right. And so because she was catching a lot of criticism, people were saying things like, and I don't think that there's not credence to this. They're like kind of like listen, you knew who he was and you knew what you were doing when you got involved with him. Yes, she was 19 years old when it started, but this was a decade-long situationship, right? This was a long time that she was with him. And the abuse was, I feel certain that it was going on almost from the beginning, probably. But I go back and forth. Sometimes I think that the defense is celebrating and that even though, the Southern District of New York does not basically go to market unless they know they're going to sell and convict. I feel like that there's been some holes punched in the prosecution's case. And I don't know if the RICO charges are going to stick. And RICO is, and I've also heard things like the baby oil, because it was spiked, it is an automatic life sentence for that amount of baby oil. And because it was spiked with basically elephant tranquilizer, that's a felony that is an automatic life sentence. And then you hear somebody else talk about it, some other, expert lawyer talk about it. One of the 1 gajillion firms that's weighing in on this, and they say, no, that's not true. And so it's hard to really understand what is going to stick or what could stick. As it relates to the felonious charges, right? Because what would really put him away for a long amount of time would be, the trafficking, the RICO stuff, and anything that has to do with children. Right. So I don't. It's difficult to tell. I don't think the defense did itself any favors. sorry, I don't think the prosecution did itself any favors with, so, you know, the 800 line and all the people coming, all these women coming forward and saying, me too. You know, I think that kind of dampened their chances of having sort of the ace in the hole. So I don't know. I go back and forth. What about you?
Yeah, because I'm trying to think. I felt like having more people come forward would help. Only because once they showed the text messages where Cassie was saying, I can't wait till the next freak off, or I'm ready for a freak off or something like that, then I was like, oh, I don't know. And then I try to put myself, like, what if this was my daughter? Thinking about my kids at 19, like, would they run off and do some silliness like this? I don't think so, because we have such a great communication that I think they would say, oh, wait a minute. I've gotten myself into some hot water. So I don't know. I've been back and forth as well. I do not like his arrogance. Like, even when I think about making the band, just the way he kind of talked to them and the way he carried himself, I wouldn't mind seeing the book thrown at him.
Yeah, same. I mean, I there's no question he's a monster. I mean, I don't think that's up for debate. He's an animal, right? But is anything he did illegal is really the question. And he's going through due process. He is, because he's not an illegal alien. He's allowed due process. We can talk about that too. But he's going through the process, and I feel like that the defense is celebrating. I feel like that they feel like that they've got some leverage, and I feel like they know something we don't know too. And I think he's an absolute monster. In general, but every narcissist is, right. And he's clearly a clinical narcissist. And I don't even use that term a lot, but it fits with this dude. He's not okay. But what really I think is going on, and you've heard some of the bodyguards talking about this, and Big Homie C and all of that, talking about how none of this would have been coming to light. None of us would even have known about any of this stuff if he had not pissed off the alcohol company. Period. Right. So, and the major shareholder of the alcohol company is BlackRock. So this has very deep roots. This is basically sir, you thought you were running things. You thought you were, the HNIC, you thought you were, calling shots and actually ruling and running your empire. You're not.
You're not. And I wish we could have charged him for dancing around in all his artist videos.
Like Suge Knight said, 100%.
Okay, because that used to get on my nerves. I wish we could have charged him for that.
It's so cringe.
James Harden says, what up, Shemeka? What up? What's the topic? Let me read this title of the video, and all he sees is colorism. So we will get to colorism. We're just discussing some of the hot topics of the day. Next, we're going to talk about Offset asking for spousal support from Cardi B. Now, what I saw is that she's worth between 80 to 100 million, and he's only worth 30 million. Like, only worth, only worth 30 million. And at first, it seemed everything was going smoothly. He wants joint custody of the kids, but he feels like the kids' home should be Cardi's house, or that should be like, their primary place of residence. But now he's asking for spousal support. And personally, I don't know. If you have 30 million, I feel like you could, be okay. But I am a person that kind of feels like, let me just say this. If there was cheating involved, it should be off the table, point blank, period. You don't get to go out and cheat and then say, I don't want my marriage and get money. I just feel like that should not happen. In a regular instance, though, when cheating is not involved, I don't have a problem with the person who makes the most continuing to keep that lifestyle. But when you get into those millions, it gets a little bit like, come on now, are you greedy? But what do you think about it?
So one, who's Cardi B? Just kidding. I am so I am so checked out of like that whole, I literally don't care. But for purposes of this conversation, I have done a little research. And my thing is, I'm like you. Once you start talking into the tens of millions with people, then now it is just kind of like a, F you sort of because I can kind of stake in the ground. But I also, and this may be a little bit of a hot take, but I also think that there's been for so long. Also, the state that they're in matters. So if it's a no fault state, the cheating doesn't come into play. It doesn't matter. And cheating doesn't matter. It's not a reason, which I think is wrong. But there's been for many, 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 many years, as we all know, divorce does not in any way lean toward favoring the man, period. And we've seen so many celebrities get absolutely taken to the cleaners by women who, in my opinion, have a predatory mindset, and are actual predators who have, gotten pregnant on purpose to be able to sort of lock in that they, will absolutely have to have child support or a certain amount of money for 18 years, etc. And, I think that this may be a little bit of a pendulum swing, right? Where it's, men have been got for so long. And I mean, to the tune of, we're talking about like the Phil Collins and the Paul McCartneys. These people were giving hundreds of millions of dollars to women who were with them for literally 30 seconds and had nothing to do with their careers. And it just wasn't okay. So this may be sort of like a sowing and reaping pendulum swing. Everybody is sowing seeds. We're all sowing seeds and we're all reaping harvest, right? I don't know what Cardi B's seeds are, but if she sowed any bad seeds, this could be her harvest. And I don't know if it'll play out that he will actually get the spousal support. If you are worth $30 million, I think it's kind of a tough thing to argue, but I don't necessarily think in general, tens of millions aside, in general, I don't think it's wrong for the person who is making the most money to be responsible for maintaining the lifestyle of the other person, even if that person is if the person who is making the most money is the woman.
Right. I totally agree. I saw it happen with Mary J. Blige. I think it happened with Halle Berry. It just is what it is. It should be across the board. If that's what we're saying, you have to maintain the life of the woman and you happen to be the woman and you make the most money, then you have to maintain the lifestyle. It just is what it is. If there's a cleanup in place, then, too bad, so sad. Or as my mama would say, tough titty kitty, ain't no more milk.
We used to say tough titty said the kitty, but the milk's still good.
Oh, okay.
We're similar. We were raised similar.
So there was this, I said I was I don't even know if I bookmarked it, but let me see if I can find this tweet. That was taught, this guy was saying that he was fired by Rich Grinnell. And let's see if I can bring this up on the screen. Everybody be in my business and see my my X screen, but it's okay. I don't have anything to hide. I keep it naked.
You sure do. Naked.
Let's see. X. Okay, so he says, and I don't want, it's so long, I'm not going to read all of it, but he says, I was fired yesterday by Richard Grinnell, we call him Rich Grinnell, from the John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts. He says, so he goes on to say that CNN had reached out to him and for a statement because he's Christian. He's had some Christian views about traditional marriage in the past, and working for Rich Grinnell, who is openly gay, they wanted a statement. And so he says that The only thing he said to CNN was, "I am honored to work for President of the Kennedy Center, Ambassador Richard Grenell, and Chairman of the Kennedy Center, President real Donald Trump. I am united with them in their mission to bring wholesome entertainment, showcasing the best of performing arts and music to America." And so he said it was not his intention to offend anyone with his comments. "I have never intended to attack or demean any person in my statements, and have always shared the mission of Jesus, striving to love others unconditionally. The amazing beauty of the MAGA movement is that we have people of many different beliefs inside our tent. We are working together in unity to make America great again." So CNN also contacted Rich Grenell, who is a professing Christian, but he's married to a male spouse. So when they fired him, he said that he asked for an explanation of his dismissal, and both requests have been ignored. He said the only explanation is the one given to me at the time of my firing. "Floyd, you must recant your belief in traditional marriage and your past statements on the topic, or you will be fired." What?
That's in quote. That's in quotes.
Yes, in quotes.
Yeah.
That's in quotes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So what do you have to say about that? Because first of all, is it okay for them to fire someone for having their beliefs? I mean, he was doing his job. He was apparently, according to him, doing what he was supposed to do. And let me be honest, I work with people who are gay. I've done some work, as you know, with the Walkaway campaign. The founder is an openly gay man, but I don't think gay is natural. But we don't discuss that. Like when I am contracted for an event, I do the event. I go and speak about whatever we're talking about at the time, and who we lay in the bed with never comes into question. But my beliefs are my beliefs. Like they've never said, "Oh, you have that song, Reclaim the Rainbow, we can't use you anymore." Or tweeted this, we can't use you anymore, or you said this at an event, we can't use you anymore. It just sounds crazy to me that this would actually be allowed. And of course, this is just one side of the story, but sounds pretty scandalous.
Yeah, I mean, a few things came up for me when I read your retweet about this. One was, obviously, if this is true, and that what's in quotations is actually what was said to him at basically a dismissal meeting, then it's a hell of a lawsuit that he's going to be able to fight. I mean, that's crazy. I can't imagine that somebody would be that reckless and that careless.
Right.
However, we're in a time now where people are really taking liberties with being able to sort of go crazy and see how far they can push the envelope, or go crazy and see how far over the line they can go without being checked on it. There's a lot of unchecked, ridiculous behavior that's been allowed for a long time in the woke era, in the, the DEI era, and a lot of shenanigans and foolishness has gone on, and no one's been checked on it. And people, I mean, we're seeing video after video after video after video of people of our persuasion, our ethnicity, acting insane, like every single day, and getting absolutely no repercussions for it. If there is a repercussion, it's temporary, and they're getting, sort of let off the hook about it. So I think that there's been this time that we've been in for the last several years where people have just been going ham on other people, getting away with it, and overplaying. And now they're overplaying their hands, which evil always does. I'm not calling Rich Grenell evil, but I am saying that if in his privilege, and I'm using that word, he really believes that he can fire somebody because of their faith and what
Right.
they believe. This is control on a different level. This is not just compelling speech or compelling thought. This is compelling belief.
Right.
And nobody's the arbiter of that, and nobody has jurisdiction to be able to do that for another human being. All of those things, thought, speech, beliefs, those are all God-given freedoms, right? These are not
Right.
people-given freedoms. So that was the first thing that came to me, is the recklessness of it all. The second thing that came to me is the prepared statement that Floyd issued. I am a communications professional, okay? And I know that for an organization as big and vast as the Kennedy Center, okay, that has been asked to issue an official statement to a major news outlet like CNN, there is no scenario where anybody within that organization, especially a senior person who's a vice president, who is going to be allowed to issue that statement to CNN without it first hitting the checkpoint called the communications department, hitting the
Right.
PR department. Okay. There's no occasion where that's going to happen. So are they getting fired too? Because why is he the only one that's culpable for the official statement that was given to CNN when that had to go through an approval process? All of that statement, which I thought was personally pretty benign and almost centrist in its sentiment, that entire official statement that he issued was approved by somebody. So did they get sacked too? That's my question. Because
Right.
if they didn't, then that really does speak to kind of just the recklessness and the lunacy of firing one person because they said they were basically cited a biblical truth.
Right.
That's basically what he's being fired for. So that's really what came to mind for me, is that this is, one, it's just, again, a symptom of where we are as a society, where people are trying to control other people's beliefs now. And then two, somebody else said yes to that statement. So what's happening with them? And it's not just one person. This is a major organization, Kennedy Center.
Yeah. And I think when you say it's a symptom of society, it just lets me see where we are as far as the debauchery that we allow and that we feel is normal. When you see that, first of all, men being married to men, I'm sorry, I feel like marriage is between a male and a female.
So do I.
I just feel like, that's the way it's supposed to be. Yeah. So when we see these men dressing as women, participating in sports and all other things that should be for females, and we see people applauding this, when we see drag queens doing story hour, it just really shows how much we have fallen as a society and what we allow and what we are now trying to make normal. Because I feel like 30 years ago, a man saying that he believes in traditional marriage, it would just be,
it wasn't news.
Yeah,
it wasn't news.
And it's nothing to get fired about. No. Now it's like, how dare you have your beliefs? How dare you feel the way that you feel? Because men should be able to marry men. Women should be able to scissor or do whatever. They should all be able to adopt, even though their lifestyle doesn't permit them to procreate. They should be able to just do whatever. This is coming to the forefront. And I give a raised eyebrow when it's supposed to be a conservative who has this type of mentality. Like, we're used liberals feeling this way. The left, they have gone so far left that people who were typically, saying they were left don't even feel like they belong anymore. Democrats don't even feel like they belong. They say, I didn't leave the party left me, because they are so far left. We're used to that side. But when it comes to the right side and the right saying, we should allow all of this, that, and the other, it's very disheartening. And it's scary, because this is supposed to be the side, if you ask me, with morals and values, or with biblical values, at least, the framework of what is tradition and what we're trying to conserve.
That's exactly right. I agree with you completely. And not only that, but in Rich Grinnell's case, he's a conservative and a homosexual, which obviously is an anomaly, but he, from a constitutional perspective, right? I mean, obviously the biblical piece is, it is what it is and it ain't changing. God said he is the Lord and he does not change. So what he said in Leviticus, what he said in Romans 1, what he said throughout the Bible about men, women, the union of men and women, and what happens when it's not men and women, it ain't changing, right? So that full stop. That said, though, in Rich Grinnell's case, if this is true, and he sort of went there and made that statement, which again is in quotes, if you don't recant what you said, you're get about Christianity and the Bible and homosexuality, you're getting fired. I'm paraphrasing, but like that's in quotes though. And Floyd went to the trouble to put it in quotes in his X post. So if this is true, and he actually did say that, that speaks to me about what's really going on at the heart of his conservatism. Is he really a conservative at his core? Does he really believe in the First Amendment, which he just violated?
Right.
And, you know, in spades, right? So like, how do you do that? How do you say Trump, 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 Trump? And then on the other hand, you're firing somebody for actually exercising their First Amendment rights, which that also, quoting the Bible, is still a First Amendment right. You can still say, if whatever you want to say, if it's biblical, it still falls under 1A, right? So I'm questioning now everything about Rich Grinnell, if this is true, because I'm questioning, you know, like, are you actually a Trojan horse in the conservative party? Like, who are you actually? Are you real or are you fool's gold? Because the counterfeits are revealing themselves left and right, in my estimation. And they have been since Trump's first term, really. And all, you know, what doesn't come out in the wash comes out in the rinse. And I think we're seeing that.
Absolutely. So for the topic today, we're talking about colorism. And I believe it is the real anti-Black. In a time when we're constantly talking about white supremacy, the white man has his foot on my neck, you know, white people don't want to see me get ahead, or white people are holding me down, white people are keeping me from being great. I think that the Black community just doesn't tell the truth all the time about how, and I'll say we, even though I don't feel this way anymore, how we feel about each other and the discrimination that we have amongst ourselves. Colorism. Now, of course, I came up in the 80s. I was in school. I was dark skinned. And I came during that time where the insult was African booty scratcher. Okay. And
I'm sorry, but we're just funny. We're
anytime
hilarious.
Upset with me, you know, I automatically became an African booty scratcher, and no one wanted to be an African booty scratcher. This was during the time that Sally Struthers, you know, she would do that Saturday infomercials.
Yes.
The African kids,
yes.
And they were so skinny.
With the flies around their heads.
Yes. And that's all I was missing. That's all I was missing was the flies. I was so skinny, right? And it's like, for just 35 cents a day, you can. So when someone called me African booty scratcher, it was like, oh no. And I had a Jerry curl. And the only time it was at its juiciest, at its peak, was like the first day. So then typically it was really dry. So during my
although was expensive. Just kidding.
Okay. And my mother and grandmother, you know, I'm sure they saved for that. But that was the thing. Like, dark skin was not in. Now, by the time I got to high school, you know, I was Sir Mix-a-Lot had the song "Baby Got Back," you know, and I got a little something, you know, and so things changed. Yeah. But I think we still suffer from colorism. I'm going to bring up this video before you jump in there because you're on the opposite spectrum, I would guess, because you're so light. I know you weren't called the African booty scratcher, but I'm going to bring up this. I want to show this video really quickly of something that I came across on X, and it just it broke my heart so much. I'm going to play this for us.
Okay. I want to actually cry. What sort of hair?
Oh, sorry about that.
I can't even part it. I can't even part the hair. Like, her birthday is tomorrow. And I don't know what I'm going to do. I can't literally part through the hair. Every time I part through it, she's moving. What am I going to do, guys? What am I going to do? I actually want to cry. I just cannot, man. I swear, if I could find someone that can do this hair texture, I will pay £100. If you could do this girl's hair, like, honestly, I would pay £100. I want to actually cry.
So when I saw this video, obviously I was irritated because I have 3 girls, and I just feel like if you're going to go through the trouble to actually do a video about it, imagine what she's saying when the camera isn't rolling, right? So I see this and I think, oh my God, this hair is beautiful. I could actually do it up and she would look great. As you see, I'm wearing my little afro or my half afro today. And I always say no one hates Black hair more than Black women. But I think it even goes deeper than the hair. Like, the hair is actually attached to the skin color, because typically we think that someone of your skin color is closer to white, so your hair is closer to being a bit more manageable or longer, or what people call good hair.
Good hair. Yeah.
Yeah. You would be considered Becky with the good hair. So you're Dee with the good hair today, because I've seen it in its natural state. It's really beautiful. It's curly, you know, but I think that we a lot of times ignore how you would feel, because we just assume life has been great for you. You were never an African booty scratcher. And, you know, so I think let's hear your side of the story, because maybe you were treated as if you weren't Black enough. And I know that that's an issue within the Black community. And I just think that colorism is much bigger than white supremacy could ever be.
Well, I completely agree with you. And you're right. I have been on the complete other side of this spectrum, right? Where I wasn't called an African booty scratcher, which again is the most hilarious thing I've ever heard. It's just why is that so funny? I mean, it's so funny. But I also think that a lot of, you know, sort of euphemisms and ethnic slurs are hilarious, but I'm crazy. But I haven't been called that, but I have been called half breed and Creole and wannabe white and high yellow and red bone. And, you know, so all of those things, which they weren't compliments, one, and two, no one white has ever said any of those things to me. Not one person, not one white person. So what's interesting is, you know, growing up, I grew up in the South, and I'm from Alabama, and but I've lived all over the place because of gymnastics. I was moving around a lot when I was younger, and so I was fortunate to be, you know, to have these experiences where I was traveling the world at an early age. I started traveling the world at age 12 and representing Team USA at that age, and you know, that kind of thing. But also, I was in this little bubble called gymnastics, which is 100% white all the time. I never had a coach who made a difference between me and my teammates because of the color of my skin, which I was obviously the darkest person in the gym. I never had, in fact, they pushed me harder, not because of the color of my skin, but because of the talent. So they were like, listen, like, if you're good at this, we're going to push the hell out of you. And we're going to squeeze this thing out and maximize your gift. We're going to maximize your talent. And they don't give a crap what you look like. On the other hand, though, I was, I grew up in mostly predominantly white neighborhoods, went to predominantly white schools. My 8th grade year was the first time I went to an all Black school. It was happens to be my favorite year of all my schooling was 8th grade. I loved that year of school. But I never got told that I was just not different. I was always told that I was different. Only by the Black kids, though. So the Black kids were, they would always comment on my hair. I heard good hair all my life. I heard, on the nice side, it was red bone and high yellow. On the not nice side, it was wannabe white and bootlicker and house nigga and all of that. Like, that's what I saw on the not nice side. On the nice side, which it's still not nice in my opinion to call somebody a red bone or high yellow, but whatever. I mean, people in my family call me that. You know what I mean? So it was a thing. And so growing up, I grew up with parents who I had a stepdad from Birmingham, Alabama, and a mom who was a Yankee. But they raised me purely on meritocracy, period. They said, nobody owes you anything. If you're good at something, you still have to work your ass off. And this color of your skin doesn't matter. And this is a stepfather who marched with King in the civil rights movement in Birmingham, Alabama. So somebody who had that sort of breadth of experience was still saying to me, your skin color doesn't matter and it's not a hindrance to you. This is what I grew up hearing in my house, but outside my house, it was always, again, on the mean side, it was, you want to be white. Why do you talk white? And I'm like, I'm the daughter of an English teacher. If I end a sentence in a preposition, I'm grounded. Like I'm getting a whooping for that. Like, it's not happening in my house. What do you want from me? And I'm a writer. So it's just not possible for me to not speak proper English. It's the way I was raised. But there was that sort of thing that planted a seed in me at a very early age where I felt like I was not accepted within the Black community, that I wasn't Black enough, and that I couldn't be accepted because this is not something I can help. I was born this way. And that I was, and by extension of that, and I don't know if this is related or not, but I personally am a person who I'm very attracted to darker men, very attracted to darker men.
Oh, your colors.
I think that maybe at a very inherent level, I don't have children, but if I was going to have children, I think at a very inherent level, my psyche, my mindset, I decided from getting all of this teasing was that I wanted my children to be darker than me. I think that that certainly was the case with my grandmother, who was lighter than me, had blue eyes, and you heard me, and my mom had hazel eyes. So there was, and all the women in my family tend to gravitate definitely toward the darker the berry, the sweeter the juice. So, and it's
my mama used to say that to me all the time because I used to cry in grade school and be like, I'm so black. My lips are so big. My hair is so nappy. And so my mother would always say to me, the blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice. When the berries are light, they have no use.
Well, that was mean. She didn't need to go that far.
Okay. She did. And I don't know. I think initially maybe it had a little bit of a negative influence on me because then I would give like a side eye to people like you. I don't know if I ever said that you want to be white simply because I went to school with all Black people. The first time I was ever in a school with someone white was 9th grade. And I think I counted like 6 people from 9th through 12th grade that were white. Yeah. So I was in Durham City schools and we just were predominantly Black. It's just what it was. And the only time I really was around white people is when I went to baton lessons. My mother put me in baton when I was
baton.
Yes, girl. I I learned how to twirl with 3 batons. I can twirl fire. I was a certified with the United States Twirling Association.
Wow. That fascinates me because I have no hand-to-eye coordination. That's fascinating.
I loved it.
Wow.
And so that was like my experience with white people. But even then, as you were saying earlier, the names you were called was never from white people. So like, you know, African booty scratcher never came from when I was in Baton with predominantly white people. It was always school around, like I said, I was in school with predominantly Black people. I even remember Spike Lee's School Days, you know.
Yes. Jigaboos and wannabes.
Jigaboo. Trying to find
just a jigaboo. You just a wanna be better than me. Yeah. That part.
Yeah, so that was, you know, what we experienced coming up. But it's so funny because now I see like there's this convenient amnesia with Black people, and they try to act as if this isn't the story. Whether you're dark like me or light like you, it's no, I see white people. You know, it's we try to put that on them, and it's not them. It's us.
It is us. Yeah.
Us. Nobody said, and I had a jerry curl going into the 2nd grade. No white person told me that I needed to have a jerry curl. That was something that came straight from, you know, my family. Let me take you to get this jerry curl because your hair is unmanageable.
Unmanageable. That's literally the word I was just thinking. Yep.
Yeah. That didn't come from white people. And so even now, when people try to say that in the professional world, we have to have professional hair, it's just a lie.
It's not true.
On Fox News with an afro. I went to the White House with an afro puff. No one said a word. No one said a word.
And they won't. And they won't.
Because this is the hair, and it's, you know, it was a white woman that said to me, you know, I asked her, is it a problem? Because at the time I had a regular job when I first went natural, like some 13 years ago, I think. You know, is it a problem that I'm wearing my natural hair? And she was like, I wear my hair the way it grows out of my scalp. What would be the issue with you wearing your hair the way it grows out of your scalp?
What made you ask her that, though? Why did you ask her?
Because people were always saying it's not professional, and white people are going to you press your hair or
the Gabby Douglas. It was like the Gabby Douglas thing. Remember her, the gymnast? Yeah, who won the flippin' Olympics. Okay, the first Black girl to win the all-around Olympic gold medal. Okay, ever, and not white people. Black people were excoriating her on social about her hair.
It was us. But then she had like an extra ponytail that didn't match her natural texture.
No, she had like sprigs. She literally just had it pulled back like in a little bun, and she had like wispy sprigs like coming out from, because it wouldn't all fit into the ponytail holder. They absolutely shredded her.
Yes, I remember vaguely. Yes, because no one hates Black hair more than Black
women.
Yeah, and
I don't disagree with you.
Yeah, and I see videos all the time of Black women complaining about their texture. And honestly, if you just get used to it and learn how to manage it, it's manageable.
And find the right products too. Like product support is key. But that woman also, I couldn't really hear the volume great on that video you played, but it sounded like she was British. Was I hearing that correctly?
Yeah. So some people call her a tether.
Thank you. There was some. She was definitely giving tether on that, and because first of all, I'm like, you don't even go here. Like, why are you? What are you even saying right now? Don't. Right. And what did she have in the child's hair? It looked like paste or something. Like, what do you? What is it? Just like you just didn't rub the coconut oil in? Like, what are we doing? But I'll say this too, though, Shemeka.
Mhm.
In general, though, you're talking about, you know, how colorism is really on us, and it's you know, what I grew up hearing as being color struck.
Mhm.
There's this self-loathing, and I know that that's kind of you know, a catch-all for somebody who's, you know, kind of trying to describe somebody who is just refuses to be held accountable. But I think
Right.
it rings true here, right? Like I feel like this. We are all created in God's image. Every single person on the planet is created in God's image. Every ethnicity of person, every hue of blackness, because we come in many hues, right?
Yeah. Mhm.
All of the hues, all of the ethnicities, all of the, I don't believe in race, I believe in ethnicity. You will not hear the word race spoken in the Bible. But
Mhm.
it's really it's an actually inferior term, and it doesn't really mean anything. It's not real. It's actually a psyop term. But every ethnicity, every nation, the Bible talks a lot about nations, right? So every nation, every nationality of person, every ethnicity of person, it's all created in his image. So
Right.
this hatred that people have, that Black people have, for whether it be their hair, their skin color, the combination of both, whatever it is, this is rooted in the fact that they don't know who they really are in Christ. That's the
Right.
real net of this. They don't know who they are in God. And
Right.
so that ultimately is going to create the ultimate identity crisis, right? But secondarily, listen, I'm a person who is all about productivity and doing epic shit. Okay? I cannot do epic shit if I am down in the weeds thinking about something as infantile as skin color. Like,
Yeah.
I cannot have this conversation. I am losing IQ points every time I have this conversation, or listen to somebody else have this conversation, or God help me, listen to anyone on ESPN talk about this, which I thought it was a sports network, but whatever, neither here nor there. I can't have this conversation anymore and continue to maintain my intellectual integrity. It's just not going to happen. We are getting dumber by talking about this. We are falling out of favor. We are digressing. We are regressing as a species. The more we're having this conversation about, y'all, skin color, like, this is crazy now. Like, what are we even talking about?
Yeah, and I think it's getting worse. That's what's so frustrating for me, is that we are here in 2025, and I feel like myself, someone who was born in 1990.
94. Hello. I'm claiming it.
Right.
I said it, and it is so.
Like, if I didn't experience all of this hatred, I know for sure the people that are online constantly being the loudest and talking the most, you didn't experience the level of hatred as, say, my grandmother, who is 91 years old.
That's
so
right.
Why are we even trying to hold on to the past and constantly carry this burden as if we grew up then? We didn't. You've had a very good life, and it's so frustrating when someone gets on their $1,000 iPhone or what have you and complain about racism or the white man having his foot on their neck. It's like, girl, you are texting from $1,000 iPhone.
That's exactly right.
Freaking break.
That's
I'm
exactly
so
right.
sick of hearing it. Wherever you are in life, it's because of you. It's because of the things that you have done or the things that you have not done, that you have failed to do. This is not about somebody having their foot on your neck. You are not 91. You are not my grandmother. You are not my great grandmother. And so when people, they get upset because they'll say to me, oh, you don't like being Black. So then now you're telling me that a continuous Black victimhood mentality is what you call Black.
Yeah.
So the fact that I take accountability for my own life and say, wherever I am or am not in life is up to me, then I'm not Black. Or if I, there's this whole, oh, you can't say pull yourself up by the bootstraps, whatever. My mother had me at 15. So that's exactly what I had to do.
Mm-hmm. And what she had to do.
She had to do.
That's right.
She did not sacrifice the things that she did in life for me to be in 2025 whining.
That's it.
Acting as if I don't have the ability to be successful because of something as minor as the color of my skin.
It's just it's an absurdity. And the reality is it's never been a better time in the history of the freaking world to be Black than right now.
Okay.
We literally are now we're doing all the wrong, many, I don't want to say all of us as a collective, but many of us are doing all the wrong things with it. We are using our powers for evil instead of good, but it has never been more Gucci than right now to be Black, period. Right. It's never been better. It's never been a better time to be Black than right now today. And we've never had more advanced, but to your point about your grandmother and our parents, these are people who actually went through some stuff, who actually were discriminated against because of the color of their skin. My dad, I'm going to say it again. My stepfather was bitten by a German Shepherd in Birmingham, Alabama. He was hit by a water hose. He lived 4 blocks from where those 4 little girls were bombed to death in that church. Okay? He was there in real time. And that same person said to me, no one owes you anything. The color of your skin does not matter. Go work hard. The end. So there's all of the excuses have been removed. There has never been, we're the most educated women. Black women are the most educated women. Okay. How did that happen though? How did that happen? If it's true, and that's debatable, define educated. Okay. If they're all like higher education, mostly is liberal bastions of, indoctrination camps. But how did that happen though? How did all these college degrees happen though? So, and many times there's grants that have been given. Nobody even has student loans on the other side of it. Like, how did all of this happen if if it's the oppression Olympics? How did this happen? So we've got all of these Black people who are in positions of greatness. Starting when we were growing up, we saw, Cosby was real. Eddie Murphy, real. Oprah, real. Michael Jordan, real. Like Michael Jackson, real. Whitney Houston, real. Like, these are very successful people. There's people who have been, who are in political office who have been very successful. Nobody says a word about Condoleezza Rice, who actually broke ground and made history. She's a sellout. She's a bootlicker. She's an Uncle Tom. There's no way to please the idiostocracy is what I'm going to call it. There's no way to please the idiot. So I'm out. Like, I'm logging off. And then I'm gonna let them fix it. Like, I'm not doing it anymore. I'm literally going to soldier on. I am going to pull myself up by my bootstraps because it's what I was trained to do my entire life, by my parents, by white people, by everybody in my life who literally rallied around me and said, it's our responsibility to make sure that you are the best you can be. Exactly. Remove all excuses.
And that's what I do for my children. Like, you will not be able to go through life, at least not around me now. I'm pretty sure they continue this thought process. But if they don't, I have instilled in them, being a Black woman is not an excuse. I don't want to.
Or a handicap. It's not a handicap either.
I remember them having one of my, she's 21 now, but when she was in high school, they were doing the whole Black Lives Matter week. They were doing that. And the white teacher that she had at the time said, I want you to write a letter to a Black woman. They're the most unprotected, What would you do or say to help a Black woman? And I got that. Let me send this teacher an email. Let me get her on the phone. Just because my daughter is Black is not a handicap. Just because she's a girl is not a handicap. Do not be trying to instill that in her mentality, because that's not what she's learning at home. And I thought I would get some pushback. It was so funny because the white teacher said, oh my God, thank you. we have this Black Lives Matter week, and I was just trying to do what I thought. I was just trying to do what I thought was best. But I don't believe in it. You know, I think it's terrible.
I mean, it's insane. It's insane. It's insane.
Crazy. Listen, so Tariq Clement says Dee is sexy, right? This was Feedback Friday, and we're coming up on 4:15.
I received that in the name of Jesus. Thank you, Tariq.
Give a shout out to Chad Jackson. I love his content.
Me too.
Yes, so he joined us today. Jambalaya Talk says the Black community, community, yes, has gotten so steeped in victimhood that it has lost its ability to fathom that it is the cause of its own demise.
That's exactly right.
I agree. Because what in the world? Y'all are doing this to yourselves. And what's so frustrating is we used to carry, and I say we as a people, with dignity and class. When I look at pictures of my great-grandmother, my grandmother, they're not turning their ass to the camera shaking. The men were not wearing their pants so low that they could barely walk. They carried themselves with such dignity and class. It was like, I want to be them.
100%.
And now we're not doing that. And so you can't blame anybody but yourself. I don't want to hear it's because of poverty. We do this because of poverty. My great-grandparents weren't rich.
That's exactly right.
I don't want to hear it's because of poverty. No, that's not the cause.
That's exactly right.
Your niggerish tendencies. Okay?
That's exactly right.
You've been talking about Black
NTs.
Okay? It's not even Black fatigue. It's what Chris Rock said. You have your Black people, and then you have your niggers. And the niggers, they're messing it up.
Hard ER and A, both.
ER and A. It's
That's
like,
right.
It's they are messing it up because they're so loud and they're so upfront.
Loud and wrong.
They feel like they're right. Yes, but you got it. They're loud and wrong, and it's annoying.
Yeah, but it's also, I think that this is also, there's I always have to bring everything back to like the spiritual component. I think everything happens in the spirit before it happens in the natural, right? And there's been zero, and I mean zero, effort to hold each other accountable. Right. And that a lot of that stems from the fact that we have left, a biblical worldview. We have left a bit, the sensibilities of the groundings that the word of God provides. Right. And it's easy to say, oh, you're just get off my lawn and that's antiquated. And that's the white man's Christianity, whatever the hell they say about the Bible. I rebuke it. I'll say this. When weed, video games, things like vaping, and I'm gonna say it, and we grew up with I grew up with 2 Live Crew and NWA and all that, that was and I've listened to more than my fair share of Ice Cube and all of that, but the point is this. I'm gonna quote the immortal Nene Leakes. Growth is a beautiful thing. Okay. Right. And when you sort of get to a place in your life where you're like, okay, listen, I kind of am understanding now that I'm actually paying taxes and what the implications that has on my life. I'm understanding that home ownership and, the implications of the rest of my life and how I want to build wealth and I want to build a legacy and have something to give to somebody else and not just live my life for me. We are living in a time where, and I'm going to say it as a collective, where many Black people are so selfish and so self-consumed, so self-interested and they bought into this whole new age bullshit of self-love and and take care of yourself and look out for you. And we have now generations of people, plural, generations of people on Section 8 housing and food stamps and EBT. Like, this is not, my friend Norris Johnson said, he's a pastor. He's an itinerant minister. He's not a pastor. He's an itinerant minister. Norris Johnson, he's very, very popular on Instagram. And he said, somebody said to him something about generational curses. And he said, you're not operating in generational curses. You're operating in generational choices. And that is what we are dealing with. We are teaching, Black people are teaching generationally, get over, get past, get through, get around, don't do things square, don't do things the right way, don't do things the way that you're actually going to be establishing legacy, but find the shortcut and take it. Find the thing you can take advantage of and take advantage of it. Find the loophole and exploit it. And we have now an entire generation of people, of women who have raised now young women and young men, but the people who raised them hate men. It's a bunch of young men and young women who were raised by women who hate men. Think about that. Let that sink in. They hate men, and they've raised young women and raised young men, and now we have an entire generation of people who were raised by women who can't stand men. This is craziness. I'm not among them. I love men, but so much.
Yeah. I say if masculinity is toxic, then I want to be poisoned.
Please, I want as much testosterone around me as possible.
Please,
like I want male dogs. I want male everything, all of it.
Yeah,
less estrogen, more testosterone. High T. I like high T individuals.
We have generations of women who say, I don't need a man, and generation of men who don't want to be one.
100%.
That's where we are. And when it comes to Nene Leakes, my favorite quote is, so nasty and so rude.
I love that woman.
Yeah, I do.
It's amazing. But think about it. Is that not true though, Shemeka? The men who don't want to be men and the women who hate, who don't want a man, or say they don't, they really do want a man, but they say they don't. They were all raised by women who hate men.
Oh, absolutely. Treasure says, when we hold our people, friends, family accountable, they become defensive and negative. You have no idea how many times I say something and people say, oh, you hate Black people, or you hate being Black. You shouldn't say that about your own people. Well, if it's true, it's true. And when did we get to the point where we hated correction? The Bible says, spare the rod, hateth the child.
That's right.
And now we're in this place where we don't want correction. We don't want correction from the white people because it's none of your business. Keep your long nose.
You don't even go here. Yeah.
No. And we feel like Black people shouldn't say anything because we're Black. Don't say anything about us because we're Black. Come on.
But meanwhile, any one of them, if it was between you and them, would never come to your rescue, would never sacrifice themselves to take care of you. For not one of them. The ones who were the first ones who were charging you with hating Black people, which, by the way, is just lazy and it's not a thing. It's not a real argument. It's lazy. It's silly, and there's like this accepted ignorance. This accepted willful ignorance within the Black community that I personally am very grieved about, because I grew up around Black people. I have 3 Black brothers and 1 Black sister. I got 2 Black parents. I've been Black my whole life. And I grew up around Black people who were, despite, individual failings and, life circumstances and bad choices or whatever, which we've all made, by the way. I mean, I was literally at 19, I was actually retarded, but like literally retarded. but no, seriously, like all the way till like 28, but like for real. But I was still, there is still a standard.
On a side note, I was just saying that yesterday. Like, we're retarded. And the best women are those who understand
Yes.
that we've been trained to be retarded. So we are aware of it. And
Yes.
so we try to make sure we are not retarded anymore.
That's exactly right. Like it's about the unretardation of the person. Yeah, 100%. But I was raised around people, all the Black people I was around, to your point about, even how we dressed and presented ourselves. There was a certain dignity and standard that was not, people were not willing to compromise it. I don't care what they were going through. You never saw them sweat. They didn't look like what they were going through. They didn't look like what they had been through. And they certainly were not advertising the fact that they had been through something was at the hands or the fault of somebody else. That just was, it didn't go on. There was real accountability. And as a person who was raised as an athlete, you can't be an athlete on any kind of elite level and not have built-in accountability chip in your brain. Like it just, you're going to have that. So I'm all about that. I'm all about personal accountability. And I think that we're kind of past the point of return with a certain segment of our society. And I mean this, and it's heartbreaking to say it, but I think the Bible calls it being turned over to a reprobate mind.
Yes.
Okay. And that is not
seared with a hot iron. Yes.
That's exactly right. And it's not because God wants to wipe his hands and wash his hands of people. It's because he's saying, okay, if you insist, I gave you free will. I'm not taking it back. The gifts of God are without repentance. I'm not rescinding your free will. If you want to use your free will to be retarded, then I'm allowing you to do that. I allow what you allow. We have more dominion in this earth than we recognize, but he allows what we allow. And so I think there's a certain segment of our population that has been turned over to reprobate minds.
Absolutely.
Is anybody beyond the grace of God? No, but they still have to choose that. They have to choose it.
Yes. I give a shout out to the Chocolate Russian who is watching live. And then Jambalaya Talk says feminism and civil rights are sisters of the same mother. And that mother is, I'm just adding that in, says, and she was a 304. So it is past 4:15. This show was supposed to be an hour. We are going to have to come back again. We have so much to discuss. We're going to be here, folks, every Friday. Maybe me and Dee, maybe me and someone else, but we're going to have this conversation. Feel free to talk back to us so that we can bring your comments into the discussion. We appreciate you for joining us, Dee. I appreciate you being willing, last minute, like, hey, I'm thinking about. So every Friday, this is just what it is. Now, if I go on vacation, I ain't gonna be here. But every Friday, and I think I want to do it just a little earlier because I understand that people on Fridays are ready to check out. It's the weekend.
Yep.
Maybe 1 p.m. I don't know. Look for the notification. But every Friday, we're going to be here discussing, whatever's going on that day, but also a specific topic that we think is beneficial for the people to hear and a conversation that we think is just needed, that needs to be had. Dee, I appreciate you. I love you so much.
Love you so much.
You and all your light skin, your red bone, your yellow bone, you want to be white.
Dee with the good hair.
Dee with the good hair. Yeah. I love you so much. And I appreciate you for being here. Let me make sure I didn't miss a lot. No, I think Nicholas says this was awesome. Oh, wait, Shemeka, thank you, Treasure. I did miss 333, but I'm going to try to get 444. Nicholas says this was awesome. Thank y'all for joining us. And I say y'all because I'm Southern and Dee was raised in Alabama, so she's Southern as well. Join us next Friday. Look out for the time. because we have to have these important conversations. And I appreciate y'all for joining us. I'm getting ready to go. Because
wait, can I do one more shout out? One.
Yes, do it, please.
Chad O. Jackson has a feature film or a documentary movie coming out very soon. We're waiting with bated breath to know the date.
Yes.
So Chad, if you're still watching, drop the date soon, sir. We are literally panting with bated breath to know the date of your film. It's going to be on MLK, Junior, and the civil rights movement, and all of the psyop farcity. You heard me. That was involved in all of that. I literally cannot wait to see this film. An enormous amount of work has gone into this, and I'm a big Chad O. Jackson fan. So, Chad, we cannot wait for your movie. Please come to Charlotte and do a screening. I'm sure Shemeka would love to come to Charlotte and help me host it with you. I'm volunteering you right now, huh?
I would do it in Raleigh. It's the capital of North Carolina. He should come
Charlotte is where he wants to come. We have better cigar lounges here. Charlotte, you have not come to Charlotte, and you're coming. And that's it, and that's all. So anyway,
and someone wants to know what part of Alabama?
Huntsville, Rocket City.
Yes, and I feel like a loser. Sorry, I know my scarf is raggedy, but anyway. Join me sometimes on Fearless with Jason Whitlock. Monday through
every day.
Friday.
Yes.
11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay.
For all the hot takes. All
the hot takes. And Chocolate Russian is from Charlotte, but I still want to do it in Raleigh. It just is.
I've already talked to Chad. He wants to go to Cigar Lounge here. It's happening in Charlotte, and you're coming.
We have a cigar lounge or lounges.
We have more. There's more in Charlotte. He wants to come to Charlotte. You're coming.
I'll come. Me and the boo will come.
You and the boo come. You can stay at my house. Everybody can stay at my house. I didn't say anything. You can stay. You can stay at my house. Everybody can come crash here, and we'll, I'll smoke a sweet, and everybody else can smoke a real cigar, and we can have a great time.
That's what we're doing then. It's a plan. Chad, he says the tour is in the works. Okay. Oh, wait. Y'all need to come to Louisiana, but the West Bank, because it's safe. Yeah. I wouldn't mind Louisiana's food. What about you, Dee?
I have been to New Orleans many times. I don't know anything about the West Bank. Rest in peace, Phil Robertson. I am open to, I love the United States of America, and I want to see every single square inch of it. So I'm happy to come to the West Bank of Louisiana and be shown.
Did y'all round up those escapees? That's what I need to know. Because weren't they in New Orleans or somewhere?
Oh, God. Right. Yeah, log off and fix that first, and then we'll be there.
All right, y'all. Thank y'all for joining us. Appreciate it. Peace.
Bye.